say other sources, I mean, for example, internet articles. But when we're looking for these books, these articles, these internet sources, we also have to remember that we have to do this critically. And when I say critically, I mean that you have to check that the source is a valid academic source. So we're not really looking for things on Facebook or things in the newspaper. At worst, we're looking for things in professional magazines. And at best, we're looking in books, reference books. We're looking in online journals for sources that we think are going to help us. So that's the first thing. But the second thing, and that's really what I want to talk about today, the second thing is that we have to organize these things. And last time, yesterday, we were talking about the bibliography. Hang on a minute. And the bibliography, of course, is the list of books that we find. So our process is, first of all, to find sources, and then we find our sources, and we look at them critically. When we have decided that these are useful to us, obviously, then you need to read them. But as we said yesterday, really, you only need to read the abstract and the conclusion to start with. And then you can read the body, the rest of the article, if you think it's necessary. So this is the first thing. So we're in this process now, and we have to write this bibliography. Now, the thing was that yesterday we said probably each person needs to find sort of 10 or so, maybe 15, but 10 sources. So let's say that we're going to find between 10 and 15 sources to start with. Approximately. So each individual finds approximately 10 or 15 sources. So some of them will be for the group problem formulation, that they will be relevant to that. Let's just change the wording, hang on a minute. Some relevant to the group problem formulation, and some to the individual. Now, I'm assuming that you have started this process because we spoke yesterday, and I don't. You've had some time earlier this morning to carry on. So I'm assuming that people have started some sort of list of things they have found. Is that correct? So the question is, have you started a list of sources? And if you have, could you send a smiley so I have some idea of exactly where we are in the process? Okay, so Koa's group has got some sources. This is good. What about other groups? I mean, there are, how many? I think there's supposed to be 38 people in the class, which means we must have about 9 groups. So, so I need more feedback than that, please. So have the other people started a list of sources? This is one of the criteria for passing the assignment, is that you have one. So I'm hoping that most people have started. So do I understand that only one group has found some sources? Okay, well, we need to have those sources, so you need to find them. So I'm going to continue the teaching as if you have found them, because when you find them, you need to know what to do next. So the first thing is to see whether I can get my screen share going. Didn't work out too well yesterday, but we'll try again today. Hang on a minute, already got a slight problem. Don't know why. I think that's why it's up and it needs to be down. Let's just try again. Okay, try one more time. Okay, can you see my screen? Please speak to me. I only have one screen. I don't know if you can see it unless somebody says something. Can you see my screen?
No, we cannot see your screen.
Okay, thank you for telling me. Just try again. I don't know why it's a problem. But I only have one screen, you see. So when I get in this case, when I have the PowerPoint on my screen, then I can't see the chat. So let me just try one more time. I don't know why it's not working. It's really weird. Is it the scan? Oh dear. Why won't it come up? It's open. Okay, well, I really want to be able to take you through a PowerPoint. Maybe we have to do it the same as we did yesterday. But the PowerPoint is in Canvas, and it is. Oh, I haven't got that Canvas file open. Just a second. Oh, it drives me nuts. Okay, so I am in module 3, and I'm going to be looking at the PowerPoint called Word Building a Bibliography. I don't know why I can't screen share. I cannot figure it out. Wait a minute, now I can. Oh, dear me. Why is it so difficult? Okay, can you see my screen now?
It's loading. Yeah, we can see it now.
That's good. Okay, so I don't know why. Maybe it's just slow. So the thing is, we've got to make a bibliography. And now we're assuming that we have lots of book titles and article titles and web sources. If we look very carefully at Word, you can see that actually you can find additional tutorials for this. And the thing is that we need in our work altogether, on the front page, you need the heading, table of contents, list of figures, footnotes, word count. But in Word, of course, you can do a lot of these things, like, for example, putting in headings, and headings with numbers are a very good idea, not only for building the list of contents, of course, but also helping you to sort of figure out where you are in your process as you are writing. So, pardon me, you can change the font, and you can see here there's a little screenshot where you can find your headings. Admittedly, the screenshot is in Danish. Then, of course, if you go to references, you can name the figures that you have made. So if you go over to references on the left, and then on the right, you go over to cross-references, you can see there that this is where you can give a figure a name. You can call it figure 1, or you can be more detailed than that. This allows you then, of course, to refer to it in your writing. With a cross-reference, you can link to other parts of the same document. So this means that you, for example, mention something in the introduction, which can then be referred to later. And here we can see exactly how you insert the cross-reference. So this PowerPoint is very useful to you. Here we've got the table of contents, which I just mentioned, where Word will make the table of contents for you. It will build it for you if you tell it what to do, basically. So you go to References, Table of Contents, and choose Automatic Table. So that's a very helpful tool in Word, which cuts down the amount of work you have to do. So there are a couple of YouTube links there for you, which will also help you build a table of contents and take you through it more slowly than I am doing, because I don't think this is a major thing. But obviously, you can do this all fairly easily, as you can see in the screenshot below. The same with the figures, where you can insert your figures, and this also will help you if you need to insert figures. And in your case, maybe inserting figures is not that necessary, because in fact we in third and often in fourth semester can put things in the appendices. We've talked about the appendices, they come last. Footnotes, I mentioned footnotes earlier. A footnote is basically when you add something, a little comment to your own work at the bottom of the page. When you want to do a word count, and the word count function and the character count function are both in the same place. So you can count the numbers of pages, the numbers of characters, the numbers of sections and lines. So when you have to do 2,400 characters per page, you can count per page, and you will probably find, as I've mentioned before, that when you do that, the page that you have just highlighted is in fact shorter than 2,400 characters. So if you have what looks like a physical page, it's often shorter. To make the work look nice, you can justify it. And at the top here, we can see the justification tab, where you get equal margins on both sides. If you are working with your group and you have some writing and you want them to comment on it, you can see below that the comment tab on the top ruler will allow you to write something about their work without writing in their work, without changing it. It's a good idea, of course, to put in page numbers. I don't think that that's exactly rocket science, but it's a good idea to put in page numbers so that you can refer to things afterwards. So these instructions here give you some indication as to how to set up your Word document. Now, although that was a very quick run through, I think that the important thing is that you know where to find this document I've just shown you. And of course, you find it in Canvas, in Module 3. And in this is where you can start, if you like, some of the layout to your document. Remembering, of course, that when we are working with this, we are showing that we know how to do the skills of research. So this is where, for example, the bibliography, the literature search, these two things, closely connected, are part of the skills that we have to show off. So that's where you write about your literature search and how you did it. And again, if you take a look on Canvas, see if I can refer you directly to it. If you look on Canvas, there is a questionnaire called Literature Search, which you can do in your own time or after I have stopped talking. And the Literature Search questionnaire tries to remind you of the things you have done and should work as a sort of checklist for the things that you need to write about. It doesn't tell you write about this, write about that, but it is, what should we say, it's supposed to point you in the right direction. It's supposed to tell you, roughly speaking, what you should write about. So we've talked about the Word, bibliography tips and tricks. Now I'd like to talk about, see if I can get this up. I'd like to talk about the APA sheet. Just a second, where have I come from? Yeah. I'm going to see if I can screen share again. It seems to take some time for my screen to show. I don't know why that is. Yeah, you see now I'm trying it and I can't see anything. So just try that again. The document that I'm looking at is the one called the APA cheat sheet. The APA cheat sheet. I'll just put that in the chat, see what, if in case I can't find it. I think. It's called APA cheat sheet. Now, let's take things a bit more slowly. What is a style sheet? A style sheet. Well, APA is a style sheet. And the purpose of a style sheet is to formalize the bibliography. And by that I mean, it tells you how to write up the references that you have made. So let's imagine that you find a book, let's just make up a book name. I go to the library and I say to the librarian, I'd like a book about BIM. And she says, oh yeah, we've got this book called BIM for All. And you go and find the book called BIM for All and you think, oh great, I've got this book. And now I know where to find all of the things for this book that go in my bibliography. So I know, because my teacher told me yesterday, I know that all I have to do is go to the front 2 pages and find out when it was published. Pardon me, when it was published. And I do that and I think, oh good, it's been published in 2021. And my teacher told me to find new books, so this must be a good book. And it's been published by a guy called Jack Eastman. And I think, good, because I know that Eastman has written a really interesting book about BIM, so this must be the same guy. So now I've done my job, I've gone to the library, I've found my book, I've found when it was published, I've found the author's name. I'm really happy with myself now. Things are going well. So I think to myself, okay, now what do I do next? Oh, that's right. What do I do next? I can look at the contents. So I look at the contents and I can't really find anything that I think is good. So that's a bit of a shame. Oh dear. But then I think, I remember my teacher said I could go to the subject index. So now I go to the subject index at the back of the book, and there's a number, a page number. It's page 63. And I think, oh, good. So I turn to page 63, and sure enough, on page 63, there is something I need for my problem formulation. So I think, great, I have got all the things I need, because now I have got a quotation and I know it's on page 63 and I know the book was published in 2021. So I think, okay, I'll put this in my bibliography. So I write in my bibliography, BIM for All by Jack Eastman, 2021. Oops. 21, page 63. Okay, BIM for so I've got all, and then I use the quotation. Good. So, am I a good student? Send me a smiley if you think I'm a good student. Okay. Did you understand what I just had to say? Not getting any reaction. It's very odd. I can see a lot of people are typing, but I can't see any reactions on the chat, public chat. So the thing is, oh, I've got 2 people who think I'm a good student. Well, there's the good news and there's the bad news. I'm only half a good student. I've done all the right work, so that's good. I've done all the work, so I can be happy with myself as a student. But this is the problem. I have written my bibliography wrongly. Yes, Koa, I am talking. When I say quotation, it's the same as a citation. So I've done the work, I've found my citation, or you can also call it a quotation. It's the same word, same thing. Oops. You just get the spelling right. Oh, what is it? So I've found my citation, I've found my quotation, it's the same thing. So I've done the work, so I think I'm a good student, but the mistake, oh dear, I have made a mistake. I have made a mistake. And what is my mistake? My bibliography is wrong. So I've done all of the right things. I've done all of the things my teacher said. He said, go to the library, find a book, go online, do a Boolean search. I found a good book. I found the details. I found some good content. And I ended up with a quotation. So I've been a really good student, and it's taken me as a student, I have spent maybe half an hour being a good student and finding that good citation or quotation. But while that is a good thing in the body of the writing, so where I am writing my things, when it comes to the formal side of the bibliography, I have made a mistake because I haven't followed the style sheet. So I'm going to write, we have to follow the style sheet. So I do not have a choice as to how I write. I do not have a choice as to how I write my bibliographical details. And we are using the APA. And so this means that in the APA, there are different ways of, let's see if I can do this now, come on. Oh, I want to do this and it won't let me, okay. There are different ways, oh, that's not good. All right, just a second. Okay, can you see my screen, can you see my APA cheat sheet?
Yes.
Oh, thank you, Vin. Right, so the thing is that to be the best student, not just a good student, but the best student, I have to, first of all, think to myself, okay, I found a book, and here's my style sheet, and it says books, right, and it's a printed book. So I should have written Eastman, comma, J dot. So I should write, oh dear, I can't do that. I've made a mistake. Damn. How do I stop that? Oh dear. Okay, I've stopped. But what I should have written was, I should have written in my bibliography, Eastman. Let's get it right. Eastman J. And then when I do that, I write Eastman J, and then I have to put in the year, which was 2021, and I have to do that in brackets. And when I've done that, I have to put a full stop. And when I've done my full stop, then I can write BIM for all. And when I've written BIM for all, then I have to find the location. So I have, and you find that on the first couple of pages. So I'm going to write London. That's my location. And the publisher, who would publish it? I don't know, Sage maybe. So that's what it's going to look like. So to be the good student who does not make a mistake on their bibliography, you have to look at the style sheet in order to get it right. And the style sheet is quite detailed, as we can see. So we've got the last name, then a comma, then the person's first name initial. So we don't call them Jack, it just says Eastman, comma, J. Then it says the year, then it says there's a full stop, followed by the title of the book, followed by where it was published. Now, in the cheat sheet, it says that it gives the word location. Sometimes you get multiple places. So sometimes it might say that the book might, you look at multiple places. Okay, let's give an example. So it might say Paris, New York, Hong Kong. So there might be 3 places. When it says location, there might be 3 places. You don't get more than 3 usually. But so maybe you have to write down 3 places, and then you write down the name of the publisher. Okay. The problem you have, of course, the question you have is, where do we find this information? And the answer is, so where do we find this stuff? And the answer is on the first maybe 2 or maybe 3 pages of the book. Usually the first 2, but not always. And the first 2 or 3 pages of the book, which you probably never normally look at, this is where you find the information for your bibliography. So this is actually quite an important point, the bibliography and the APA cheat sheet. And the reason, of course, is that different sources have different ways of referencing. So it's like different sources are different, so when you look at if you look at the document on Canvas, you can see that there books, there are ebooks, there are book chapters, and if you keep scrolling down, you can find that there's journals, magazines, articles, electronic magazines, internet sources, podcasts, videos. So there are all sorts of different sources, and you refer to them in your bibliography in different ways. What does this mean? It means every time you find a source which you want to use in your bibliography, you need to check the style sheet. So for those people who have started looking for books, then they need to have on their computer, they need to open that APA style sheet so that every time they find something good, they put it in their bibliography correctly. And then people who haven't yet started need to really get going because we have a lot of work to do and not so much time, I think. So now I need some feedback. First of all, does everybody understand about the bibliography and the APA cheat sheet? If you understand, please send a smiley. Okay, lots of good smileys coming in. Thank you very much. That's very useful to me to know that you understand this. So the thing is, in a way, I can't take you any further than this. I have to say, this is what you must do, which is not really, I don't like doing that as a teacher, but this is what you must do. The bibliography is a discipline, and either you get it right or you get it wrong. And you don't want to get it wrong because it has to be right for the exam. So really you need to start looking for these books. Okay, it's not something you can put off, I don't think, not really anyway. And then you need to make sure that the books that you find are useful to you, which means reading them and coding them. We talked about that yesterday. So if you look at Canvas now, you can see that there is a lot of backup material to help you. If you look at Module 3, we have a title, Literature Search, Lit Search, and Academic Reading. And basically, academic reading we've talked about, but I will just go through it very quickly again. But when you're doing your literature search, you need to remember that you need a log. You need to show that you have found things, you've found sources, but also you need to show that you have organized them, and that is the coding thing. So if we think about this idea of academic reading, let's just hang on a minute. If we think about academic reading is basically, you can sum it up like this. Basically, academic reading is about spotting the key word. Now, we talked about how to read the book by using things like the subject index to find a particular word. But sometimes you don't have a subject index. So what do you do then? Well, basically, you look at the page, and instead of trying to read every single word and make sense of them, you just try and find the word that is interesting to you. So if the word that's interesting to you is solar panel, well, that's 2 words, but you know what I mean. Then you look at the page, and all you're looking for is those 2 words. And then when you find them, then you read the text around the key words. So the thing is that when you're doing academic reading, there's usually a great deal to read, a lot of pages. And reading a lot of pages takes a long time. And reading a lot of pages and understanding them is interesting. But if it doesn't help you do your assignment, then actually it's interesting but not really useful. What's really useful is finding exactly what you need. So when we're talking about academic reading, partly it's how you look at the book, using the contents, using the subject index, or if you're doing a snowball search, maybe you go to the back and look at the author index that we talked about yesterday. And when you look at the author index, you try and find a key name, like, for example, Eastman, as I gave you in the example before. And you think, oh, Eastman, he's really good. He knows all about BIM. And so you go to the back and you find that there are 2 or 3 references there to Eastman, and you think, okay, now I've got to go and find them. That's your snowball search. So looking for the right words, and only the right words, is what academic reading is about first. And then you read the content. Then you try to understand what that person has written. But first it's the key word, then it's understanding. So I'm going to write keyword, then try to understand. So this is very important. So let's just sum up where we are now. We have started our problem formulations. We did this by making a mind map. So you have a mind map for the group, and this is one of your appendices. You have maybe some sort of writing for the group, the introduction, which is your problem formulation for the group. You should also have a small, maybe just half a page, maybe a third of a page, but you have a small problem formulation for the individual. Small problem formulation for the individual. So now this is where we were talking yesterday. Maybe we've got about 3,000 characters. And because we've done the mind map, we now have our keywords, and we're going to do the literature search. And some people have done it and some people haven't, but that is the next thing to do, and you can't really move forward. You can't do anything else until you've done the literature search. So the literature search is very important. So we do the literature search. And we say, okay, most people find about 10 references, different sorts of references. They put these in the bibliography, right? Then you also, as a group, have to try to put the books or the articles into categories. So maybe you have a category that's called pure BIM, and then you have one that's called green BIM. And then you put the articles in these different categories. And these categories you decide on, because you're looking for the common characteristics in the literature that you have found. So we need to do that, and you need to have some documentation that you have done it. And if you saw my PowerPoint yesterday, you will see that maybe you could take a photograph of your process. Maybe you can draw a diagram of your process. And today we've looked very quickly at Word, and we know that we can include a photograph or a diagram, because now we can give it a name and a number. So slowly but surely we are building towards getting going. And if now you take a quick look at Canvas again, actually there are two there are two questionnaires. One is called literature search, one is called keywords to include. So I'll just make a note of that. So you need to do these questionnaires, and that's what you're going to do now. So we're going to do the questionnaires now, and there is one. Yeah, I'm just looking for it now. When did I put it? There is one called literature search and one called coding. So we've got literature search, coding is another one, and finally we've got one called keywords. We've got one called keywords. So this is group work. I'd like you to try and complete the questionnaires and discuss the answers so that you think as a group you have a group answer. And then I would like questions. So I'm going to go offline now. Well, I'm not going offline. I'm just going to switch my speaker off. But I'm going to switch my speaker off, and I will complete those questionnaires. I think it's very important that you look at the keywords to include, because these give you a very clear idea of words that must go into your work. So I'm going to switch the microphone off, and I would like you to, as a group, I would like you to complete the first questionnaire, which is called literature search.